guest with us, Steve Forbes. Steve is CEO and president of Forbes Media. He's been with us a number of times on the program. You're listening to Financial Issues. I'm Dan Celia, and we're going to welcome Steve. Steve, welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Good to be back with you. Thank you.
Steve, I had a Dick Armey on the program last week, and we were talking about the IRS scandals. And I wanted to get your perspective on the idea, with all that's going on, is it possible that we could start to see some sort of legislation to a flat tax?
I think the answer is yes. I think there's a consensus for radical simplification of the code. As you recall, 3 years ago, the president appointed a thing called the Simpson-Bowles Commission, Democrats and Republicans to make recommendations on spending and taxes. The recommendations obviously were ignored. But Democrats and Republicans signed on to the concept of simplification, reducing tax rates across the board. I'm not sure this president's going to do it, but I think support for it is going to grow. So if it doesn't happen in the next couple of years, starting with the business side, I think it'll radically happen after 2016. I think then what you're going to see happen, you remember 1986, the tax code in those days was full of tax shelters. Democrats wanted to get rid of some shelters. Republicans wanted some tax rate cuts. And when they started the process, they quickly discovered that if you touch one tax shelter, you better get rid of all of them, which is exactly what they did. They threw them all out, cut the top rate from 50% to 28%. I think next time when this process starts, they're going to discover you touch one preference, you're going to have to touch them all. So I think we could get a flat tax.
I'm just amazed that I know there are some Republicans, maybe a few conservative Democrats that ran for re-election on this idea that we need to fix the tax code. And here's an ideal time to put forth a piece of legislation. It's never going to happen. I understand it's never going to get past the president. If it got past Harry Reid, I understand that. But I guess I'm just wondering why we're not starting the debate. And I know there's a lot before them right now, and I know they're very, very good at doing nothing. They've got that down pat. So I just don't. But I still don't understand why it's not happening. Of course, I'm hopeful that it will. Interesting, and I really hope you're right. I think that it's certainly possible if we, the people, can really push for it leading into 2016. Dick Armey kind of took the position that he's where you are, in that it would appear as though we should be doing it. But he went to something that I say all the time, is that there's too many people making too much money off the complexities of this tax code. That's a huge problem.
Well, it's a huge problem, which is why, left to its own devices, Washington would never do it. They're very comfortable with the power and the money they get from the current code. I remember when I ran in '96 for the Republican presidential nomination, H&R Block sent a mailing to the voters of New Hampshire warning of the impending end of civilization if something like the flat tax was enacted. And so, they will fight tooth and nail. But I think most of the American people across the board are disgusted with the code. I think this IRS scandal, which is huge, the biggest in history, is beginning to touch more and more people. And I think the implosion of Obamacare, just the sheer complexity of unworkability of the thing, is just going to put people in a mood to say, "Hey, let's go back to the drawing board." And I think you're going to start to see it in the primaries next year, and you're going to see it even more in 2016. People are beginning to realize that a lot of activist groups on the conservative side were put out of business, and in fact put on the sidelines in 2012 because of what the IRS and other government departments did. So I think people are going to be roused again, realizing this last election was badly tainted, being mild, by this illegality that the government engaged in.
Yeah, you're being a lot more mild than I am, but I kind of feel that you're probably in my camp on how tainted it really was. But what do you think? I mean, one of my theories is that In 2016, Obamacare is going to be pretty much the death of every Democrat that is currently in office. Because I think in 2016, by then, people will have figured out their quality of care is deeply diminished. And I think that they're going to figure out that this is expensive. They're going to figure out they've got the IRS, who is in charge of policing this. They're going to understand the panels, the bureaucrats in Washington making healthcare decisions is not a good thing. And I think it's going to take till 2016 before everybody, that reality sets in. I think there could be just that alone from the IRS and taxes and where we need to go could change things dramatically.
Yes, and again, there's nothing like experience with overreach of big government to rouse people up. And the IRS scandal helped solve the mystery of 2012. Why wasn't there the passion in 2012 that there was in 2010? Well, part of it is most of these organizations were sidelined, fighting for their lives, trying to stay out of jail. And part of it, too, the Republican Party blew it big time. But I think that's going to change in 14 and 16, especially in 14 where you have numerous local races and you don't have a presidential nominee putting a damper on things.
Yeah, that's a great point. What do you think about did the Republican Party, are they blowing it with immigration and what it's going to cost America?
I think they've not handled it well, and I think that they're what should be focused on. I think a couple of things. One is the UN. This is why the '86 Immigration Act failed. Was the '86 Act did not have provisions for meeting the needs, the labor needs of parts of the American economy, whether it's high-skilled, high-tech, or agricultural workers. And so we ended up with a huge problem, huge illegal immigration. And so one of the things this bill's got to do, and goes part of the way, but not as far as I would like, is provisions to meet the market needs of our economy. It may be a small number, it may be a big number. We don't know. I wish Washington would realize it can't guide this economy. And so you got to do that. The other thing we got to do is fix our immigration service. If you play by the rules, you go through often just sheer hell and years of waiting and complexity and lost records. So they've got to clean that up so that if you play by the rules, boom, boom, boom.
Right.
Do it quickly.
Yeah.
Instead of punishing law abiders.
Yeah, I don't understand. Again, I'm not sure where the Republicans are on this and what they're thinking. I'm concerned about the economic implications of all of these rules, laws. I'm concerned about our energy and the fact that we have lost our will. We have no will to see the energy revolution that we could see here in America, the prosperity that could come from that. And I heard President Obama talking about global warming yesterday, talking about his energy policy. I mean, it's insane. And
you'd never know that the temperatures haven't changed essentially for 16 years. And the real climate change, that's been going on in the last, I looked, for 4 billion years. The Earth's climate's been changing. And the real global warming is in Washington, D.C., the hot air that comes out of there. Pretty toxic.
Yeah,
too.
and that's the truth. That is the truth. Oh, my word. I think that I'm a little confused, and I'll ask you for this one final insight for us. I'm a little confused as to why a president would be so set, a lame duck president, so set on appealing to his base in such a powerful way and doing everything he possibly can for his base. Is it just because he is just so sold out on the same ideology?
The answer is essentially yes. It's unlike the mid-1990s when Bill Clinton was going to move on major Social Security reform and then got caught up in the Lewinsky scandals and therefore had to appeal to his base to stay in office. This president believes this stuff. He's against coal. He's against oil. He's against gas. He really believes that windmills are the wave of the future instead of a museum piece. And
Right.
It's amazing, by the way, on windmills, they kill millions of birds a year. And yet this is supposed to be environmental friendly.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, I got to ask you this one last thing. Is the Fed going to continue to trash the dollar at the rate they're doing it now?
Well, in spite of the Fed, because of the peculiar way they've been doing things, what they've essentially been doing is printing up money, giving it out to the banks, and then borrowing it back from the banks. So the banks get easy money, millions of dollars a year from this exercise, improves their profits. But the Fed has essentially put this money in a reservoir, and you just have to hope that the dam doesn't break and flood the valley. So we just don't know. But any time the dollar shows strength, which it has this year, the economy starts to show signs of life. And I just hope Washington, may not with this crowd, someday realizes that less is more. Leave it alone.
Just get out of the way, right? Just get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Take care of ourselves. We don't have to be so told that drinking big sodas may not be good for us. That should be our decision.
Exactly. Steve, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you being on the program with us. I love your insights, and I know you're doing it. You've got your own. You got a little thing going on Fox News now, right? On Fox.
We do called Forbes on Fox every Saturday morning, 11:30 East Coast time, 8:30 West Coast time. And also continuing my education, I have a book out called, we've discussed it before, Freedom Manifesto, Why Free Markets Are Moral and Big Government Isn't. And working on a book now on money, which we all use, but Washington does not understand.
Great stuff, Steve. And folks, if you haven't seen, I've watched Forbes on Fox Saturdays. And I DVR it so that I can go back to it when I need to watch something that's of value. Great stuff. And, Steve, I'll look forward to that new book coming out. And thank you again for being on the program. And I know you'll be back with us. You've always been so gracious to us, and we sure appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.
Look forward to it. Keep the faith, man.
We'll do it. God bless you. Thank you.
Bless you.
God bless
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks.